Ordinance 2022-0170, ordinance to create a pedestrian mall in the 1300 block of South 72nd Street.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Who got that one?
We had enough already.
What's that?
I had one question, and I
Please.
think it would have been answered already in one of the meetings I attended. As far as the use of the property outside of DECO and the city bid events, the owner of the property is not going to subcontract the space out to anyone else? That were,
Right.
as far as, events and other things, it has to be, it coincides with the event space.
That is correct. So the special event permit would be applied for by Walter Holtz in this case, and then for 2 nights a week, Fridays and Saturdays, for his events. And then if someone else is interested, right now the way we're looking at it is that it wouldn't be, if members of the public wanted to use it, it could be used, Sunday through Thursday, but not as a special event. So if somebody wants to just I want to throw my son's birthday party out there, it's not designed to function that way. This is just functioning for the bid, the city, and Walter Holtz.
Are there exclusions in that stating that, okay, if a peddler wanted to come by and get, like what we had voted on earlier, a permit to sell, that would not be an area in which they could do so?
It'd be up to the council.
If with the ordinance that was just passed, that will be published if the mayor signs it later this week. If they have a special event permit, they have to be away by 100 feet.
Okay.
So it would be applicable. To
Okay, that was
location
my question. Okay, that is it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, could I ask a question,
Yes,
please?
go.
Considering the people that would like to use that facility, that area, who the costs incurred, who would get this money then?
Well, if we would get, if people are applying for a special event permit,
Right.
the city would get the money for the special event permit.
Okay,
But he could have an event where he's renting out to somebody where they would be there, but we would be getting money for them being on the right of way.
okay, the DECO wouldn't get any money for,
Yes, they would, because if a person rents the location,
for a
they
wedding.
might want to be inside and outside.
Yes.
So they would pay for both of that.
Oh.
But he would also have to pay us to be on the street.
okay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We did vote on it.
We did vote on it.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
You're welcome.
Item 36, Resolution 2022-0816, resolution to confirm and adopt the report of the city engineer containing the schedule of proposed special assessments for improvement of West Nashville Avenue from South 62nd Street to South 65th
Move to approve.
Street.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And again, more of the road project. Item 37, Resolution 2022-0822. Final
approve.
resolution.
Second.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to read it all again?
What's that?
I said you don't have to read it all
I
then.
know. I don't like hearing me either.
It's not bad.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And then we jump down to item 38, which is the grant of privilege for the DECO.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, and I will, because I had a question too. Can you hold your?
Yeah.
Okay, Steve, go ahead.
A couple points with respect to the effective date of when you'd want to close the street. I don't know if that was discussed prior. Sorry, I should have brought that up during 35. But when would you like the street closed? I mean, if you pass the ordinance and if you pass or approve the resolution.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Go ahead.
what would the operator Want.
Speaking with Mr. Holtz, April 1st would be fine.
Okay, then why don't we appease that and shoot for April 1st?
Okay, and then, Steve, you had brought up out there in the chambers about the west sidewalk. Do you want to address that now?
I think that could be added as a condition within the agreement to.
Now or future?
As part of your motion, I mean, it's just something that we think would be a good attribute to allow public to walk on the
And again, that was
sidewalk.
during his events?
It could be during
Anytime.
events, anytime. I mean, really anytime, whether it's during an exclusive event or just, the other days of the week, just to promote accessibility between the city parking lots and Greenfield Avenue. So that,
Okay.
people, whether you work in that building immediately west of 72nd Street or you're just someone coming to the downtown to visit, you have that walkability on the west side of the street.
Mr. Chair.
Alderman Spansky.
I thought the whole thing was, no matter what, people still have access to the public sidewalk on both sides, even when there's a special event.
Well, I mean, the thing would be if there's a special event, you can have, let's say, a wedding party or something outside,
You're blocking off his
and
building.
you're going to be sort of walking through, as people are coming in and out of the deco, from that side door into the outdoor patio. That walkway would be open, but I think it'd be good maybe just to create something within the actual agreement itself, just to more or less indicate on the west side of 72nd Street where that west sidewalk is, that be, so in other words, somebody doesn't put a patio table right in the middle of that part, and that way kind of creates a little bit more, like I say, a 4 to 5 foot wide path for public right of way.
So the sidewalk itself on the west side could just be open access
To be
to-
clear, yeah.
and not put any tables or anything on
While,
it.
while part of the pedestrian mall, it remains sort of a cross access. So
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, just a suggestion, Steve, and I'm sure development will look at that anyhow. They could easily landscape that as a divider too, from the sidewalk, and leave that open where it's still private for the event. So, yeah, I think that amendment should be added to it to specify that the sidewalk should be put in that agreement to be open.
Sorry for not bringing that up sooner.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just so I'm clear, the condition will be that the west side of South 76th Street,
72nd?
Street will remain open, the sidewalk will remain open at all times
Yeah.
for the public. Okay.
And the opening date,
April 1st.
April 1st.
April
April
1st.
1st.
So, Mr. Chair, I would like to ask Steve, I mean, is the, Mr. Holtz to be responsible during the winter months to keep the sidewalk clear? I mean,
Well, I mean, the first part, right now, I mean, if, for 2023, he would be utilizing that pedestrian mall between May 1st and October 31st. If it snows sometime within that period, I mean, we've had snow on late October before, but he would be responsible for cleaning it up. After that time, I think it would be, he's no longer using that, the agreement pretty much stops on October 31st, so I think it would be, just revert back to the city to clean that area, keep that area maintained.
I mean, he'd still have to clean the sidewalk next to his building.
Correct.
Well, correct, yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
You're just talking about the area that would be closed off to
Correct.
traffic.
Right.
Right. Mr. Chair, I would assume that any of the business owners would already maintain their sidewalks in that respect. So the pedestrian mall or walkway area, with the exception of the sidewalks, because each property owner would be responsible for snow removal anyhow, per ordinance. That was just a statement.
sure. So, you want to redo your motion as amended?
I motion to approve as amended that Rebecca read off.
And that's the west sidewalk and the April 1st opening.
Correct.
Okay. It's been moved.
And there was a second.
And seconded. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned. I'm not slamming that.
The floor is yours. Vince.
Anyway, the License and Health Committee meeting comes to order. All the members are present. So we begin with item 40, new Class D operator bartender application for Seth House Second. Here, she's here. Seth,
Is Seth here?
I move for denial of the application.
Second.
Second.
Is that based on record and
On
non-appearance?
records and everything, yes.
Well, 2 non-appearances.
Now we move on to item 41. Class D operator bartender application for Cody Curris, second appearance.
Is Corey here? Move to deny?
Cody's here.
Motion to deny?
Second.
All in favor of the motion of denial?
Aye.
I,
Opposed?
That would be
The
on
ayes
non-appearance.
have it.
based on
Non-appearance.
appearance.
And record.
42, new Class D operator bartender application for Stephen Reese, first appearance.
Motion to hold? Was
Second.
there a call from? Okay.
So
We'll
we
offer, Mr. Perry's, grace for the one
So there's
non-appearance.
a motion to hold.
Yep, second.
That's
All in
first
favor of the
appearance.
motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Then we have item 43, new Class D operator bartender application for Alicia Murkiski, first appearance. I'm sure she's here.
No. Motion to hold?
Second.
I mean, I thought technology today would be more effective, with emails, letters sent to the
These
mail
are obviously
office,
people who don't want to really have a bartender's
Well,
license.
then why they waste our time, really?
Mr.
Exactly.
Chair, if I may,
Yes.
it's just an offered grace,
Yes.
so, things do come up.
Okay, all right. So then we move on to item 4.4, new Class D operator bartender application for Elizabeth Rita, first appearance.
Bingo.
Oh, she is.
We have one. Come on up.
She waited for an hour over here.
I felt like the game show host. Come on down.
For an hour, maybe the poor girl wait.
How are you?
So based on what I see, really, I don't see much, really, anything in records that will affect her license.
Well, with that being said, Elizabeth is appearing as a new Class D operator. This is, I'm going to check your file real quick. I'm so sorry. I should have had that up and going already.
Right here.
Right here.
I got it.
You've got it? Super, thank you. I think I had one question for you, but I didn't have my notes available, so my apologies.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
are you finished? Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you go right ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm
I was
going over
concerned
something.
about the accident, 2019 property damage. Could you elaborate a little bit on that, please?
Property damage?
It says accident with property damage.
Oh, I think that was a company car. I don't, property damage. Wasn't even, just says property damage, 2000.
It says accident with property
Property
damage.
damage?
So did you have an accident?
I did, yeah. Is property damage just another ar? Yeah.
It could be a car, it
Okay,
could be,
yeah,
yeah.
I think, yeah, I just paid out another car. Yeah.
But really, based on.
I mean, there
the-
was
Go ahead, go ahead.
probably unintended driving. I have a clean record driving for the past 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, really, that accident that really did occur really is not related to our application for the be a bartender. And also, I mean, it's been in 2019, and besides, she has a really smooth and nice, clean record. So, on the motion,
A motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The aye have it.
Just don't speed to work.
We're good? I brought all this paperwork. Okay.
Lighten up on that foot.
Then we'll move on. to
You all good? Thank you.
45.
Thank you.
Communication from the Health Commissioner regarding the nuisance abatement program action plan progress. Bob, I think everything is going smooth, right?
So you should have in your file an update. So this is a year-to-date progress report that really speaks to the nuisance abatement plan on the whole. And then actually in the report, you will see various indications of kind of where we had improvements or changes since the September report that I shared with you, or we shared with you folks. So all in all, you'll see that really, I think in the course of this year, the nuisance abatement project and plan went down, I think, really well. You know, it was, I think, a really good collaborative effort between the departments. I think the report itself will demonstrate, in large part, that the primary organizations that include health department, DPW, and code enforcement, and as well administration and legal, have all routinely been coming together throughout the course of this year to talk about the scope of work that was needed to put forth communication, as well as get abatement out, and also just to work on things like the OpenGov platform that is really turning out to be a wonderful tool for us as departments to better collaborate. And so without getting into the full details of all of the narrative, really with regard to OpenGov and the Let Us Help function, that has really prompted good communication between the various departments as we are getting complaints, and then also when various departments are going out into the field to do inspections. We're notifying one another of not only when there is a presence of rodents, but as well harborage issues. There's also then action behind those. And so, so really, with, I think, the folks who are here, Dan in particular with code enforcement, and Dave with regard to the public works side of things, can really kind of speak, I think, as well to the benefits of having that electronic platform work to our advantage. Communication-wise, you can see that we have pushed out many social media posts, as well as other forms of communication to residents, and we saw a number of hits, either through the health department social media posts, as well as the city Facebook posts, to the tune of over 100,000 hits. Now, keep in mind, there's going to be some redundancy, duplication there, but all in all, I think we had a pretty good outreach effort with regard to reaching the masses, raising awareness, and hopefully getting some folks to change their behaviors. So getting into a little bit, I would say, the meat and potatoes of the plan itself, the nuisance abatement and mitigation plan and metrics. As a reminder, this year we did a very thorough walkthrough in 3 zones. 580 properties fell under the umbrella of those walkthroughs. On August 25th, which is relevant to Zone 1, there were approximately 40 orders to abate based on the violations that were identified during that walkthrough. Dropping down a little bit, you can see towards the middle of the page with regard to notices of violation, in large part because we as a health department were actually successful in putting together the process by which we use Let Us Help to push out letters. We were able to, as part of that process, issue 13 notices of violation in a 2-month period between October and November of this year. You'll see that 1 licensed restaurant was ordered by us to cease operations, in large part because of rat activity. Fortunately, that particular business was very compliant and cooperative during the course of their closure. And so during that closure, there were repeated visits, re-inspections, to the point where we cleared them for reopening after they essentially told us that they were pest-free. In the course of this year, 1 residential property received a cease and desist order for feeding of the birds. This is a residence that's just been I would say, a repeat customer of sorts throughout the year. And so we essentially engaged the legal process to issue a cease and desist. This residents and those individuals were put through a court system or through the court process. As you can see that, through that process, they were issued over $6,000 in fines. And again, this is over a period of time. And then too, as a result of that particular effort, in large part because, as we all talked about numerous times, it's not just one property, it's going to be multiple properties. We actually had to issue a cease and desist order to many properties on that particular street to have them stop feeding the birds. So that happened towards mid-year, and so areas where we got somewhat aggressive and taking more of an enforcement approach. As you can see too, a number of bait stations were placed throughout the various 3 zones in the city, or otherwise known as the hotspots. And recent numbers to that situation, as you might recall, we were awarded or allowed to use up to $10,000 in CDBG funds, and to date we have essentially reimbursed Orkin for their services just shy of $10,000. So being very aggressive with that activity. And then just dropping down towards the end here on the 3rd page, DPW added 7 additional bait stations at Liberty Heights. There are now a total of 10 bait stations there. And monitoring has been increased from bi-weekly to weekly at Liberty Heights. And then a report from code enforcement. Dan, I don't know if you want to kind of chime in on the numbers that were shared. But as you can see, they've been very busy with their tall grass and weeds inspections over this past year. A number of orders were issued, and I think with regard to the rat rodent issue, you can see that approximately 195 letters regarding rodent harborage were issued, which reflects plus 70 letters since the last report. They've issued 9 citations, and they are actively managing 27 nuisance properties in the city, all of which are part of the big issue of harborage and rodent traffic, and so all in all, I would say a very productive year. Things have quieted down this last quarter, we suspect because of the weather. We're going to take the winter months to reassess kind of where we landed over the course of these past many months, look at any kind of quality improvement opportunities, and ramp things back up for the spring. As we know, the little critters are going to get busy again. And so unfortunately, we know this problem is not going to necessarily go away, but we're hoping that we've at least mitigated things enough this year where we're going to be able to better control the situation next year.
Any questions for
Mr. Chair.
committee members? Yes.
Bob, in your opening, you said there was 13 notices of violation and the restaurant complied, right? So they're in compliance now?
Correct. Yep.
What are the others? Are they not in compliance yet? The other 12, I guess, would be?
Well, the one restaurant.
And maybe I missed it, my apologies.
Yeah, so the restaurant is a separate
Okay.
matter. Yeah. And then right now, the other issues or notices of violation are being monitored. So no citations have been issued to them at this point. And so because there are violations, our team is monitoring the progress towards.
Mine being monitored.
Well, staff will go out routinely, and they'll just either go on site to look at that property, or they will essentially just call that property owner just to see how things are progressing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you
Any
have many
further question?
properties that basically you have to repeat?
I'm sorry.
Do you have many properties that you have to repeat?
Well, there are a few suspect, properties where we spend a little bit more time there than other properties, and I would say the one residence that was issued the cease and desist is a prime example of that. And then, all in all, it's a manageable situation. But yeah, there are folks out there who, they just don't get it, and if they're issued a violation and don't take care of it, then we're now ramping up and in a better position now to issue citations, at least through the health department. DPW and code enforcement, with regard to the enforcement activities that they have, under their purview, certainly as well have the ability to issue citations. If it's a harborage kind of situation, or if it's a nuisance property, or with regard to the garbage, if they find that the garbage is not being maintained, then as it's indicated here, then yeah, they've been writing some citations as well.
Bob, I do believe your health department really have done a hell of a good job, really, in relations of, in concurrence with the code enforcement, with Dan and the building inspection and public works just as well, because really the East End, in the last couple of years, I did experience, I used to receive a lot of calls, really, in regard rodents, and rats. When somebody called me by Liberty Heights, he says, the rats are crawling all over the kitchen. I said, how in the world, can you live like that, you got rats crawling all over. Don't you do anything about it? I would take a sledgehammer and try to go after them, really. To me, it would be the answer, really. But not just let it go like that, So there's many cases like that, really, within our community. And I'll say the East End, has been having a little more problems,
Mr. Chair?
Is that true, Dan?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so we've been working, with OpenGov, with Kevin Smith and Sarah at DPW. Like, we can see what everyone's doing behind the scenes, where before it was all separate platforms. So we're working together with them way more than we ever have in the past. And same thing with sending out, pamphlets for the health department in our letters when there's weeds around garages or junk in the yard, just letting them know, like, you're contributing to rodents. So, yeah, that's
Thank
been
you, guys.
helping a lot.
Dan, the fact is, that's what it takes in any department's communications, and try to work together. But in the past, years back, I never could digest that. But now today, I think we have a hell of good people in our staff, really. Within every department, there's good people. Go ahead, any question from the committee members?
No, actually, you
I
summed it
move
up.
to place
So-
on file.
Second?
Yeah, all in favor of place on file?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The aye. have it.
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Bob.
Second.
All in favor of the adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The aye. Have it. Thank you.